What this group has accomplished in a short time with what I would consider a very conservative amount of money is incredible. You're going to hear from Rachel and Jared firsthand as parents and from Melissa about the research. What's exciting to me is how they have fast-tracked studies and have made discoveries that could even have a broader reach to other genetic diseases as well.
My beautiful, perfect little boy, who was wanted so much and loved more than he could have imagined, had hearing loss. Hearing loss. What did that even mean? Hearing loss. I slid off my chair and was lying on the floor in the audiologist's office. Zachary was born profoundly deaf. Our sweet boy could hear nothing. Our worlds were shattered. We were scared, angry, confused, and heartbroken. All the dreams we had for our son seemed to slip away. Zachary was almost 3 years old when I started to notice he was having a hard time seeing me at night. I would walk into his room at night and he would be calling me and looking for me when I was right in front of him. Panic set in. I always knew about Usher syndrome. This was my fear since the day we found out he had hearing loss. 3 weeks later, on November 2nd, 2015, I got a phone call confirming what I always knew. Zachary had Usher syndrome 1F. Fear, panic, and outright anger has taken over our lives. Within hours of his diagnosis, I found myself on the phone with the Usher 1F Collaborative. This is a 501c3 that is specific to raising money and awareness for Usher 1F. It was started by parents, Melissa and Eric and Elliot, sorry, I have a typo. Elliot Chakoff in Boston, who have 2 of their 3 children affected with this cruel disease. Within a short time, Jared and I went to Boston to meet with her and her husband and the board. We learned all about the research being done to save their vision, the doctors we needed to take him to, and the hope. The hope, within his lifetime, he will not lose his vision. We immediately joined forces with them, 2 families who would do anything for our children. A perfect team was made.
We like to say we're in the home stretch, and our gene therapy is 3 years from being ready for human testing. We've put Usher 1F on the map. As horrible and scary as this diagnosis is, we've seen amazing things since we shared our story, the way our community, our friends, our family, and complete strangers have rallied around and supported us have been simply amazing to watch. We've witnessed the good in people. We will stop at nothing. Heather, as an incredible woman who wanted to learn and understand everything about Zachary and our foundation, she's just genuinely wanted to help, wanted to make a difference for those with Usher 1F. Sorry. Within a short amount of time, Heather joined our board. Your hard work and dedication to make today perfect was simply amazing. We're so thankful. We're in a race against time. Help us reach the finish line. This will only happen if we keep the research funded. Thank you.
In 2006, when our oldest was 19, on a routine annual eye exam, she was diagnosed with retinitis pigmentosa. And we knew that that meant the girls had Usher syndrome. It was a devastating diagnosis. My 19-year-old was a month from starting art college. She had always been a very talented artist, and she fell to pieces. So we got the diagnosis that it was type 1F and really learned from going to the annual conferences that there was nothing. My husband is a surgeon and a researcher, and I had spent 14 years working in nonprofit fundraising and development. My husband and I decided we had the tools to do something, and if we didn't, nothing was going to happen. This was at the end of 2013. Relatively quickly, a zebrafish model after a year, and then a couple years later we had a mouse model, and then the Roots joined us, and we became the perfect team of 2 couples. We had the scientific connections, they had an amazing community, and they started to bring in funds, and it built upon itself. Additional funding meant more research. More research meant more success, more getting noticed in the research community. And so we have really snowballed. We have a board member who works in biopharma venture capital, said that what we have accomplished in just 8 years is nothing short of mind-blowing. So we are on a roll, we have momentum, but we're in a race against time. Our kids, they're already losing vision.
So I'm Jessica. Tonight, I just want to briefly touch on my experience with Usher syndrome. One thing I want to mention before I start, it's actually almost sunset, which is actually a pretty significant moment for me just about every day. So at 8 o'clock, right now, will be when sun sets, which sounds silly, but it's how my day works. It is really hard for me to see at night. So for me to be independent, I have to time my days based on sunset. Felt like my day was so controlled by sunset. So my options were limited, where I could live, be independent, because being independent is so important to me. And with Usher syndrome, sometimes you feel like you cannot be independent. So you need areas that are accessible, great public transportation. And one of the things I'm hoping for, and what a cure for Usher syndrome will do for me, is it will give me free range in where I can live. I would like to be able to say I can apply to jobs in places I don't need to worry about public transportation. What a cure for Usher syndrome would mean for me is being able to be independent, being able to choose where I want to live, being able to drive, tell my friends, hey, let me come out and see you. And so that's what a cure would really mean to me.